Yeah. Hey, Barbie, how's it going? And, hey, guys, welcome to You'll Probably Agree. Today I have Andrea Thompson from A Reel of One's Own and Katie Glidewell from The Blonde and Front On to talk about Barbie. Uh, quite the film. Would anyone like to give a summation of what the movie's plot is?
Barbie and an existential feminist crisis, courtesy Greta Gerwig.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the whole plot of the movie. It's Barbie's going through a whole existential crisis. She kind of goes through a Pinocchio tale where she wants to become uh, a real live woman, sort of like how Pinocchio wants to become a real live boy. And before I get into it, because who cares what Ken thinks? I want to know what the Barbies think of this movie before I get into it. What did you guys think of Barbie?
I loved it. I absolutely loved it from beginning to end. One of the things I love so much about it that honestly doesn't really have anything to do with the movie that told a coworker today. I just love the unification of everyone, like getting dressed up to go to the theater. It's like even at our press screening, like people were dressed up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wearing the
I was
outfit that
dressed
I
up.
wore. You put a dress on. Other people,
Pink,
they
of
had
course.
suits. They had, I mean, this wasn't the assignment. It's not like we had a
Mm-hmm.
memo, dress up as, but we just all had this consensus, like, this is what we have to do. And I
Mm-hmm.
loved it. I think that's amazing. And I love how,
Spontaneous, feminine fun. And
yes,
Katie, you and I are both old enough to remember when a character saturated in pinks and femininity was the villain, was
mhm,
vilified. So to see people embrace pink and femininity and have it and take it back to the fun, because unlike on screen, like when we hung out with our friends, had a girls' night, we all embraced pink, right?
yeah.
The girly movies and stuff, So it is just so fun to see that experience on screen.
And
Yeah.
it's fun to see it
Hmm.
with the audience, both, every gender just coming together like that. And I think the production design is just chef's kiss.
Oh
The
Mhm.
yeah, the
writing
plot is
was
good,
amazing.
the acting,
I mean,
they do so much. I saw online on Twitter, Caroline. She said that her like Monday matinee of Barbie was sold out at her theater. When is the last time that happened? Even when you have the biggest MCU movie opening.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, I have no doubt. I mean, I actually did a post. I think this film right now, and I know it's early and stuff, but
Mhm.
I think it's a lock for like multiple nominations. Ryan Gosling for Best Supporting Actor, Production Design, probably two Best Song
Oh yeah,
nominees
there
with
was
Open.
apparently
Oh
hardly
yeah.
any CGI in
Yeah.
Barbie Land. All that
Oh
stuff
yeah.
was actually built. He just built
Really?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of what was that Lars von Trier film where it just takes place on a single stage and you just see everyone's life on there? Like it reminded me a little bit of that, where I'm like, oh, we're watching a movie that's part like on stage, but also like part in real life. And it was amazing how they blended both styles together so
Mhm.
wonderfully.
Yeah, you know what? It reminded me of Lord of the Rings, the way they made all the hobbit holes and stuff look lived in and created
I can
this
see that.
magical world. Because there was a lot of handheld stuff in that too, along with the CGI.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was like a like when they flip the car over, there's that little
Hmm.
animation that they put there. Like they kind of played with the doll's physics in a way, where you
Oh yeah,
kind of have it flip
definitely.
over more times than it really needs to really capture that. But yeah, I think this movie really works because it plays with the next and screwing up my words here, but the movie plays with the existential crisis through Barbie's fear of death. Like, how do you think the movie's thematic elements worked?
So well, and it's such a risk to make a feminist film because I mentioned this in my review personally. Not only does it come under fire from many on the right, but from many on the left too, who seem to get upset that a movie can't cover like the broad history of feminism. I mean, yes, it's it's corporate because it's a toy
Mattel.
that we all grew up with. It's Mattel, yes, but at the same time, Gerwig is able to work within those corporate limitations and take it in so many directions. So the fact that she succeeds so damn well while incorporating so much from the set design to like the Barbie in a wheelchair, to the
Yeah.
real world, all the diversity and everything, and even Mattel letting her poke fun at them in the all male board. I'm amazed that it works so well.
Well,
Yeah.
and I
To
have
be
to get, and
honest.
I also want to give credit to the marketing team for this film because, I mean,
Oh,
they did a full on push for this unlike anything I've ever seen, making
mhm,
sure that every single world premiere that the cast went to, Margot Robbie was head to toe exactly like the doll she's supposed to represent. Moi on that, costume
mhm,
designs, everything. And I think that was a huge push for the film
mhm.
too. But my favorite part, America Ferrera's monologue.
Hmm.
Oh my
That's,
God,
I
yes.
mean, girl, I once she just kept going and going, and it's one of those things that, I mean, we're not going to spoil it, but yes, every single thing that she said, I can relate to. You can probably relate to. And then when she
Mhm.
went on and
And
brought up
younger
different,
people can no doubt relate to.
oh yeah, and
Hmm.
then when she
Yeah,
spoke to
I can't
different
believe.
Barbies, like each time, it's like
Yes, it's
it's
a
like
different thing.
it's
Yes,
like
voicing the BS patriarchal expectations, and some people even found that trite. Like it's another cool girl speech, and I'm thinking, you know what? Like voicing those truths. You it always means so much because the patriarch is so ever present in our lives, and to hear that spoken aloud in a major blockbuster means so much. So I can't understand why some people would find that trite, even as their arguments are reasonable. Like,
Well,
well, and I
how
mean,
else do you make a movie about Barbie? Because
I
Barbie
guess
is
they
the
prefer to
embodiment of like
show
everything
rather
that
than
is
tell.
wrong. Yeah.
but
But
Barbie was,
it's
I
so
mean,
important to say these things.
it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, in the beginning, and this is a spoiler, in the beginning, it's like girls had dolls that made them mothers or caretakers and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Barbie had a career. She had a medical degree. She'd go in space. She owned her own car and house. And this is a time
At a time when,
when
yeah,
women weren't allowed to own a credit card without a male figure, like a husband, a father, like signing off on that. So
yes, it
I
was
know,
Barbie and Ken, not
yeah,
Ken and his trophy wife, Barbie.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's Barbie and it's Ken. It's not Barbie and, yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, I know as it got, I think later on, like 80s, well, especially 90s and millennium, it's like Barbie's expectations, like you got this and this and this. It's like focused so much on the body type and stuff, and rather than what she was supposed to be representing, which is like the female empowerment and opportunities that we weren't given at that time when
Well,
Barbie
I
came out.
Yeah, that's not to say Barbie hasn't contributed some negative stuff, which
Oh
I'm
yeah.
seeing that
Hmm.
acknowledge, like those body issues.
Yes.
But at the same time, like the reason she's lasted when other toys is because they were able to evolve her and take her places. And oh my God, and even some of the most half baked movies can be fun. Have you seen Barbie Princess Charm School?
No. Is
Oh
it
my God.
animated?
Yes.
Yeah.
It
Barbie
is such
Princess Charm School.
the most cheesy, one of the most cheesy, most enjoyable Barbie movies ever. And I found out about it because so many people were liking on this movie on YouTube. They've since taken it down, but it's gone on a lot of apps and stuff I've seen to become like an audience favorite. But
Yeah.
you didn't hear that from me.
No, no, no. Well, the film has a great character breakdown where America Ferrera's daughter is basically telling Barbie to
Hmm.
her face, like, you are a fascist. You are everything that is wrong with our image. Like, I love
Consumerism,
Yeah.
you know.
yeah, consumerism. Like you know, you expect us to all be this. You know, we're all supposed to look like we're this perfect 10 out of 10 weird fantasy like figure, and the way the film
Mhm,
handles it, I love the fact that it just it goes for Barbie right in the jugular. How did you think the
mhm.
movie like tackled the problems with Barbie in a Barbie movie?
Well, I think Barbie, like when Barbie comes to the real world, she had, in her mind that all women would be grateful because, they fixed all these problems. Like women are in charge, women aren't on the Supreme Court. And
Well,
for her to
Barbie
be
Land is a
berated,
matriarchy,
yeah,
you
for her
know.
to be berated by a child who is one of the people that she's supposed to be, adored by,
Mhm.
it was just a hit in the face. Like, and I mean, even when she's on the beach, it's like I feel like I'm being stared at, but not in a way that
Hmm.
it's like happy, but more like you want something from me. I'm not going to give it to you.
There's a
And
Mine
definite
very
undertone
much
of
has an
violence. Yeah.
undercurrent of violence. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, like it was a way a critique of like the corporate like very capitalist focused feminism because they all lived in this place where they had so much opportunities and they had no idea how the ideas that worked for them when implemented well could backfire so spectacularly in a system that wasn't meant to like translate their ideas to women
yeah.
directly.
Well,
That
and
those kind of good intentions.
one of the things that Ariana Greenblatt says, and this I think is a very important line in the film that I think I mean, I know for me that it's like women hate women, men hate women. It's the one thing we can agree on. Like that's
Hmm.
a thing that has been in my mind that has been drilled. It's like, oh, that's your competition. You need to do
Hmm.
this. And it's like I've had to tell friends who have girls who are male friends, it's like never ever tell that to your daughter. Like this is
Mm.
something
Hmm.
that has been brought to my mind. And only in the past like 10, 15 years did I realize, like, why did I listen to that? Because it just kept being told to me. And that's the thing, that's something
And
that
also it played
happens in
out so
Barbie.
well in the
Yeah.
patriarchy, you know, if you work hard enough and stuff, you if you cater enough, maybe they'll let you be the girl. Just
Yes.
like in a
Mhm.
lot of other they'll let one actress be the plus size actress. They'll let one filmmaker be the black filmmaker,
Yeah.
you
Yes.
know,
Or
and
or
they'll let one girl be the girl in the
yeah.
boys club.
It's just beautifully illustrated in that scene where they're at Mattel and Barbie goes, "Who's the CEO here?" And he goes, "Well, uh, I'm the CEO." And it's like, "Yeah, but where's the female CEO?" And you see that and how Mattel even pokes fun at itself for being a male-led world still.
Hmm.
Well, and that's like one of the other lines is the guy who brings her to the top of Mattel. It's like, well, I'm a man with no power. Does that make me a woman? And I'm like, I wrote that down. It's like, oh
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
God, that was amazing.
Yeah, the little like, the guy who was who reported the missing Barbie in the first place. His name
Hmm.
was like Brian or something. Who knows? But yeah, yeah, that was a great line. It's funny how in the movie Ken is the more emotional, angry one in the story. He preaches the patriarchy and becomes easily stirred when creating Ken World. Why is it that Gerwig, you think, made the men more emotional in this movie than Barbie?
Be-
uh, Real world
Because
I
yeah,
mean, yeah, I think
Kavanaugh.
that's the
reflection.
point. Yeah, it's like that the men would fight with each other, and that's they'd rather take over everything and then kind of mess it up than have the women take control and make it. I mean, Barbie Land was perfect the way it was, and then you had to get horses involved in the patriarchy, and
Yeah,
then
Barbie wasn't quite perfect. Barbie Land wasn't quite perfect the way it was.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was
It was
still
perfect
a
for most of the
stereotype.
people who lived there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and
Hmm.
that's when Barbie kind of takes her little Pinocchio sort of
And
side
I
of the
mean,
tale.
the most extreme form, like most women who are murdered, they're pregnant or they're murdered by partners, or
Mm,
ex-partners, who are trying to leave them and can't find the necessary protection. The
yeah.
guys can, and the guys can get a gun really easily,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
a lot of men are doing and nothing's really being done about the problem, whether they want to or not. That sends a message.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's when all
I
the
mean, it's
Kens.
not being emotional, it's being passionate. They're not
Hmm.
emotional, they're passionate, they're tortured, you
Yeah.
know?
I remember when Charlie Sheen was saying a lot about himself. He's like, "Oh, I'm not emotional. I'm passionate." And I'm like, "So you're passionately emotional," is what you're trying to say, man. Yeah,
Passionately a douche.
yeah.
That's why it was so important earlier in the film where they're like, I can hold emotion and reason equally, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah. uh, the
Ugh.
movie switches from Barbie from like real world to back to the or it goes from Barbie world to the real world back and forth. How do you think the movie stylistically worked? Because like to me, I couldn't get enough of the pink in it.
Mm.
I thought it was absolutely perfect. I love how they made things almost a little bit smaller because in Barbie and in Barbie Dreamhouse in her car and stuff like that, Barbie doesn't necessarily fit. She's always like sticking out a little bit. And I
Yeah,
love
Mhm.
how they use that in every single aspect of the film. I mean, I think if there's anything the set design, which I put down, who is it? Set decoration, Katie Spencer and Ashley Swanson. I
hmm.
mean, ladies, prepare for those gold boys because I don't see right now anything that's going to top the production design for this film. Like it was again, chef's kiss.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
Gorgeous. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
So
it really
beautiful.
felt like a Barbie dream house, like brought to life. Where, especially when they're just driving around the main avenue and you just see like all the individual little houses and how
Yeah,
like they had the open architecture where you could like see into each other's house without
and you
without
could
the
see
doors
so
locking
many
it.
like previous films, the influence from like the Red Shoes to Umbrellas of Cherbourg,
Mm.
that hairstyle, just that glamour.
I remember seeing the Red Shoes about a year ago, and I loved
Mhm.
it. Yeah, or it might have been
Mhm.
2 years ago now, but yeah, just on a off note, but yeah, I could see some of that influence on there. I mean, and then when you just talk about the casting of the film, it's just
Oh
perfect.
my God.
Yeah, Margot
So
Robbie
perfect.
is quite literally like when she was cast in Wolf of Wall Street, she was kind of cast because she looked like a Barbie doll in a way.
Hmm.
You know,
And people were so damn amazed, like, wow, who knew a blonde bombshell actress could also be. It's the same tone, like how amazed that like a blonde could be smart. It reminded me of
yeah,
when Bridesmaids opened, and suddenly people were forced to acknowledge that women could be funny.
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and that was the thing. This is a female-led comedy and a
Hmm.
female-written one that, with a little bit of help from husband Noah Baumbach,
Hmm.
is pretty hilarious.
It
Like
is
all this is like Barbie like freaking out about having flat feet, and then
cellulite.
yeah, and then
Oh
having
yeah.
Oh my God,
cellulite.
Kate McKinnon as weird Barbie. Oh my God,
Yeah, with
Well,
the
and I mean,
perfect.
that she's
the
always
fact that
doing the
they say it's
splits.
like, we're sorry we called you weird Barbie. It's like that's
Mhm.
okay. It's like I smell like basement.
Yeah.
Mhm. And you notice all the weird Barbies were the only ones unaffected by the brainwashing because they kind of already had a defense in place for it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, they were able to defend themselves against it. This, yeah, one critic was citing the film's third act as jumbled and confused, and I don't really agree with that.
I don't
I
Like,
don't
agree with
either.
that at all. I mean,
yeah,
they definitely have like an apocalypse now kind of thing, but I love, love, love the scene with the, if you seem, act confused and have the Kens tell you about the Godfather. I was like,
yeah,
Tell them you've never
or the
seen a
I've done
Snyder
Godfather
that.
cut.
I've done that before. It works.
Photoshop.
Let me tell
Oh
you,
my God.
every time. The Godfather and Feel the Dreams, ladies. The Godfather and Feel the
Field
Dreams.
of Dreams,
Kubrick.
Field of
Some
Dreams
of
is
I had to
okay.
lock
It's
my
okay.
account after speaking critically of Kubrick on Twitter a couple
Oh no,
times.
what'd you say about Kubrick?
Yes.
Eh,
Hey.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, Kubrick's good, but Eyes Wide Shut isn't that great of a movie, and Full Metal Jacket, it doesn't hold a candle up to like other movies like The Deer Hunter or Apocalypse Now or stuff like that.
I
You
think
know.
Apocalypse Now, I could see how it was revolutionary at the time, but I find it kind of funny that
Oh
it's all
yeah,
about this white guy being shell shocked. I'm like, yeah, your leaders don't always know what you're doing, and yeah, and the Americans aren't always on the good side, but that in a way that was that war that it's been the image is all about man's loss of innocence,
yeah.
the American man's loss of innocence. That's how that war has been depicted in movies. Never mind what those so-called innocent men were doing, you
Yeah,
know.
think
Yeah.
about the innocent woman and children that they were hurting instead. But yeah,
Hmm.
we don't go to that. But yeah, the film is the film blatant like in its statement towards feminism, or is it appropriately placed? Because to me, I feel like this movie is kind of what you kind of needed to do for a Barbie movie, because
Yeah,
Barbie is so objectively this sex object perfected image that we had to criticize it, but at the same time, throughout the years, they have made like other versions of Barbies that people have actually been able to connect to.
but the thing is, the heart of Barbie's image isn't that she's cool. It's that she's cheesy also and sincere.
Hmm.
She's a Barbie that has Ken, yes, but so many female friends around her, and
Yeah.
none of them are competing for Ken.
Yeah.
That's not a part of her image and storyline, and that's not a conscious thing. That's just, in a lot of ways, that's just how the story is played out. So I like that it was so cheesy and sincere while being subtle at points. So
Yeah,
And I don't think it's a bad thing that
neither.
feminism and female empowerment are the forefronts of the film. I know people like, oh, it's Hollywood and all that stuff. It's like, or maybe it's waking up to the fact that this is an issue that is still going on,
Hmm.
and we're having a plastic doll like that is telling us like why are you guys not having more control over your lives? Why has this not been fixed by now? It's like,
And it's something that will reach everyone, since this is a
yeah,
major blockbuster film. I remember when I was a kid, a lot of this stuff didn't get to me. A lot of this feminist stuff just didn't get to me that I couldn't use. But something like this could get to everyone, can get to anyone,
yeah,
and stuff that might be that you'd be normally be shielded from some people, maybe either by environment or algorithm. But you have to acknowledge this, whether you like it or not.
yeah. I know that it is a PG-13 film. I know some people have said that it's not necessarily for kids. I think I know many kids who have gone with their parents so that, if they have questions and stuff like that. But I mean, I'm a child
Mhm.
from the 80s. Like, look, I had freaking The Last Unicorn and some weird ass stuff that I got to watch that honestly was way above my head when I was a
All
child. So
dogs
to
go to
say,
heaven.
yes. And I
Oh
mean,
my god.
um, yeah, I mean, Dark Crystal, like this is some dark
Who
stuff.
framed Roger Rabbit? Oh
Yeah,
my
and
oh,
god.
I
Bambi's mom
was,
got shot in the beginning.
well,
We have
that's,
some
I'm not that
traumatizing
old,
shit
Mike. That's like
happening.
Oh, the Land Before
1950s.
Time. The Land
Land
of.
Before
Oh my god.
Time. I mean,
How many
there's a lot
times
of
did they get
stuff.
extinct in the Land Before Time? There's
Yeah.
like four of those movies.
So
Well, I'm
it's
just
one of
talking
those
about
things
the
like,
first. There was like, oh no, there was a four. There was 18. There was
yeah.
like almost
Holy
20.
shit!
Oh, no,
Yeah.
there's
Yes,
a
20
lot.
sequels.
But it's one of those things that, I mean, look, even though kids may not be old enough, this is stuff that will get in their head and,
Mm-hmm.
have the parents explain. You can like think about it when you get a little bit older and like they can figure it out themselves. I don't think this is maybe for 6-year olds, but for 9 and above, I think you can definitely watch it.
Yeah.
And I mean, some of them, I mean, it's weird. We say, oh, this is too old for kids. But the thing is, all the discourse, you're taking away kids' rights, a lot of kids' rights everywhere, threatening to take them away from their parents.
Yeah.
Saying they can't be gay, they can't be trans, they're not supposed to read things. They're
Mm-hmm.
not supposed to read at all. They're in Florida. You heard what they're teaching kids about slavery. teaching kids that slavery wasn't all bad is way more damaging than this
Wow.
blockbuster movie. How
Yeah.
I can't
But
even.
the feminists, oh, those
right?
feminists.
Oh, the
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I think
Hollywood.
yeah, your kid's not going to be able to get a book in the library, but if they get shot in the library,
Yeah,
Was he
that's the
reading
Jesus
the
thing.
damn
Christ.
books?
And the inflation in some of these places where they're doing this, it's clearly all smokescreen to cover more serious issues. So, yeah, what about the kids?
Yeah, what about the kids?
Well, this movie kind of thinks about them and thinks about how they
Hmm.
grow up and how they end up getting a more realistic idea of what it's like to be a woman. Oh, I think we
Hmm.
have some comments there. Oh, we got some comments. All right. We got
Yeah,
some
they
from
never take it out on the dad
love the
like they
talk
were saying.
you have going on. You three. Thanks,
Mm.
Don. Yes, America
Yes.
Ferrera. To see human in the movie drop all the mics was wonderful.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was nice
Yes.
to see a movie about Barbie that talks about what's wrong with Barbie, but at the
Oh,
same
and yeah, Greta Gerwig had to fight, I read, to keep that to 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 keep that scene where she tells an older woman, "You're beautiful," at the
Well,
bus
really
stop.
that
Yes.
scene
guys,
that bar
you
wow
guys know who that older woman is, right?
was that Ruth?
No, the older woman is Barbie. The older woman is Ruth's daughter. Yeah,
Oh,
that is what Barbie. That is the reason why we have Barbie. Is because when she was a little girl, her mom made Barbie. So
she named
without
me after her
her,
daughter
this
Barbara.
would never have happened. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's so wonderful.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing about this movie is it recognizes people for being people, not just for being things. I
Hmm.
had to say I love Michael Cera's Alan in the film, who's like Ken's best friend. He was introduced in
Ah,
1964. His girlfriend turned wife Midge also appears in the film, played by Emerald Fennell. Both,
yes.
yeah, both characters were canonically married in 1990 with the Wedding Day Midge dolls. Now that's interesting because yeah, Michael Cera he was sort of like the anti Ken. He was like dorky Ken, but
Well, Alan is not Ken's best friend. Alan is Ken's buddy. And
ah,
he can wear all of Ken's clothes. Now, the reason why I know this is because I've seen an interview with Michael Cera and he makes sure to correct people. He is not Ken's best friend. He is Ken's buddy. And on the
hmm.
box for Alan, it says Alan is Ken's buddy. He can wear all of Ken's clothes. And Emerald Fennell, do we all know who she is?
Mm-mm.
Uh,
Emerald Fennell is the writer director of Promising Young Woman, and then
uh,
the
Okay.
fact that she plays Midge, which I love that you have multiple amazing female directors involved with this film.
Yeah.
That I thought that was great. Like I
not
love
a
that.
fan of that one, so
Yeah,
So yeah, I
I
haven't
am. It
seen
was
it,
my
so I
number
don't have an
2
opinion.
film of the year. Love it, love it, love it. That's a whole
yeah.
other. That's a whole other topic.
Oh wait,
I
promising
prefer
young woman.
Revenge, the French film
That's
Revenge, to that.
oh wait, promising young woman. That's the one. Oh, I know which one you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah,
Where she
that's
gets
a
where
whole
she
other.
yeah she
Yeah,
does get revenge indeed, or
kind
does
of,
she, like
kind
it's kind of
of.
like it's a really sad way to get revenge if you do, you
Well,
know.
That's a
the
whole other
yeah, that's
discussion
what
that we can
Yeah,
get
we'll
that's a
take up
into.
the
whole other
rest of the
movie.
Yeah,
show.
that's a whole other film
Well,
because
that's
yeah,
amazing. That was a yeah. That's a, you know what? Now that you mention it, I know exactly who you're talking about. Emerald Ferrera plays Barbie's friend Midge in the film.
Oh
Emerald
yeah,
Fennell.
Katie
Yes,
and I'll
Hmm.
have a cage match about that later or something.
we will.
Is it going
Let's
to be
wear
in a pink
pink.
cage?
Yes, pink,
Yeah. All
pink
right.
cage.
So, but yeah, this movie
But
was
with the
originally
classy mud
announced.
wrestling.
Oh, oh
In
my God.
Jello,
Now is the mud just going to be
Oh yeah,
made of
so much
pink?
better.
pink Jello. I mean, why not?
Yes, pink
Yeah.
Jello.
Now that's what I want to see. Now
Again,
this,
that's a whole other. That's a whole other show, kids. That's a whole
yeah,
other.
Mm.
that's Barbie After Dark. Yeah, and that's something else. But yeah, this
Barbie's
movie,
Revenge.
Barbarella. Yeah,
Ooh,
yeah, but this
that's already a thing, though.
yeah, This movie was originally announced in 2009. The project underwent multiple different iterations and became a property for three different studios. How did this movie feel structurally when you're watching it? Because like to me, it didn't feel like it felt like one concise vision mixed with other ones, but I could see how that would go through the ringer. I'm amazed this movie about Barbie even got made in the first place, to be honest.
Same,
Yeah,
same. I'm amazed that Barbie and Wonder Woman both spent years in development hell and but came out the stronger for it, which is rare.
yeah.
I mean, at one point Diablo Cody was attached to Barbie.
Yeah, she was
And
supposed to
I
write the
guess it was
screenplay. Yeah,
a much darker script. So it felt like it retained some of the good ideas, but was very much itself, very much with Gerwig's vision.
yeah.
And I can't see this film done without Gerwig. I think
Hmm.
she was the person to direct this.
Mhm.
I think she's definitely the person to write this. I'm so glad that she and Noah Baumbach took on, because that's a heavy duty to not only write something as big as this, but to also direct it.
Mhm.
And again, I think this is for original screenplay. I think this is just a gimme for a nomination, if not the win. Mainly, again, because of America Ferrera's monologue. Like that is, I still think about it. When someone asked me what was my favorite part, I had to think for 2 seconds, then immediately like her monologue. That was the thing that really, I mean, it just was true. It was amazing. I think that could possibly give America Ferrera a nomination because I thought she was incredible in the film. I mean, everything that was done, I think, was done so right. Even
Mhm.
when they did the thing that it's like Margot Robbie is crying and says she feels ugly, and you have the narrator. It's like the filmmakers know that for someone to say this, it should not be Margot Robbie. Or it's like I'm paraphrasing it, but
Oh my god! And the Pride and Prejudice depression Barbie. Oh my
yes,
god!
Hmm.
I mean, well, and I wrote down that it's like the ordinary Barbie has a flattering top and gets through the day kind of feeling kind of good about herself. It's like this is just it's not only it's meaningful, it's clever, it's funny, and it doesn't patronize like the real subjects that are
Mm.
going on, which that is so difficult to do. And I think they did it like excellently and effortlessly. And I mean, as yes, this is a film about Barbie, but the Kens just killed it. Like
Hmm.
Smiley
Mhm.
and Ryan Gosling. Like my God, he was so
You
Ken.
yes, you needed an actor that was really likable because and even I'm obviously a Gosling fan. Like even I am like, are we allowed to kill people in Barbie Land? Because when he takes over her, like when he takes her house,
Oh, you
and
mean the Ken's Mojo Dojo Casa House? Is
yes,
that what you're referring to, Andrea? The Ken's Mojo Dojo
yes,
Casa House. That's
yes, it was her house. That was the Barbie dream house.
that's
Yeah,
the
and then he
Ken's
turned
Mojo
it.
Dojo Casa House.
Mhm.
He didn't like being a man who was trapped in a woman's run world. So, he switched it around to the world that we live in, which is what made that scene
For a
work
more
so
extreme
well.
version, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I don't know.
And
I
then
feel like
and
we
then
don't live
she's
in a
like, I just don't want to hurt him. And America Ferrera had to say, honey, he took your house and brainwashed her friend. And she's like, oh right. And I still don't want to hurt him. Is this what
yeah.
being a woman is like?
Hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know?
And sorry, Mike, but do you feel there's that many horses in the patriarchy? Because I don't think there are.
No, they
But I
didn't ride
definitely
any horses
am.
in the movie.
Yeah, I'm definitely with Ryan Gosling that once he found out that that horses weren't involved that much in the patriarchy, that he kind of, uh, didn't really care about it
He
anymore.
lost interest. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, what are you gonna do without horses? But I have to say I love cinematographer Rodrigo Prieto's uh, color palette that was used throughout the movie. Just the over usage of pink. I think instead of calling it Technicolor, Greta Gerwig called it Techno Barbie because of the way it was used throughout the movie. And yeah, I mean, in terms of stylistically, I like how the movie went between the real world and the Barbie world and back, but yet it always felt like a comedy throughout. It didn't feel like it was distracting itself from trying to be something else. Uh, yeah, it was one of the more pretty films I saw recently,
Mm.
and I guess production designer Sarah Greenwood claimed that so much fluorescent pink paint from the company Roscoe was used for the set construction that it caused international shortages.
Yep.
Except, yeah. However, it was later revealed that it was because they had COVID, and that's what caused the shortages to it. But yeah, it's amazing how they just created this whole world.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
and that's kind of used to be kind of par for the course for movies, right? When you don't before every movie, you can't really blame them for using CGI since it's so much cheaper and cost effective. But
mhm.
still, the fact that this is such a big event in the first place, Barbieheimer is kind of sad. But it shows that if you just let filmmakers kind of be creative, audiences do respond massively. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, Barbie's based on a pre-existing toy, but just audiences are clearly starved for creativity. Just let 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 the directors be creative and pay them. For Christ's sake,
Yes.
solidarity with the strikes.
Or
Yes.
or pay the stand-ins, instead of digitally recreating them in the background.
Well, that's a new
Oh my
thing.
god.
But one of the things, seeing interviews with everyone and stuff that I love is how Ryan Gosling has said that Margot Robbie and Greta Gerwig, created this like safe space in Barbie Land where they could wear
Mhm.
the outfits, they could be who they wanted to be, and then when Ken and Barbie were on Venice, that was the first time they were out in the real world and actually in the real
Mhm.
world in with during filming, and like to have
Hmm.
all these iPhones on them to see the judging eyes and all that stuff. They said it really was, or Gosling said at least, it really was kind of daunting because it's like they did such a good job to let them feel free and open and stuff. So that says a lot about the real world in reality, like
Mhm.
Yeah.
how that was. And I think that that's one of my favorite interviews that I've seen of them, is him talking about that, because that just says so much about while they were making the film, like how much freedom
Mhm.
and safety and just encouragement they had on set.
Yeah,
No what?
I mean
Yeah.
it's funny like how the world
It's so
judges them
funny.
when they're
Yeah.
out there just for the way they're dressing and for the way they're expressing
Mhm.
themselves. And of all places is Santa Monica Beach. Santa Monica Beach is a
Venice, yeah.
yeah, Venice Beach. I'm sorry.
It was either
In
Venice
Venice
or
Beach.
Santa Monica.
I've been to one of them.
Yeah,
But
I've been to Santa Monica.
yeah,
I've
Looked
been
more
to
like
like
Venice,
Santa
and
Monica,
believe
but
me,
I've
and
Venice,
then
yeah, there's not much you don't see in Venice. So it is very funny when people
mhm.
had their phones out. I'm like, come on, this is just par for the course. This is nothing. This is like a boring Tuesday afternoon, like the way they're dressed. Like, what are you
Mhm.
doing?
yeah, that is not much at all. But I mean, one part I love is the "I Am Ken" song. Apparently, that was just improvised, or not improvised,
Oh,
but like
wow.
they sung it like beforehand, and then Ryan Gosling liked the song so much he actually advised to put it in the film, and then that's how it ended up getting placed there later. It's funny how Ryan Gosling's whole character uh flaw is that he doesn't like the fact that he's just Ken and Barbie runs everything in his world. Hey, how
Yeah, he
does
said,
the
I live in the warmth of your gaze.
Hmm.
I was
yeah,
created for you. It's kind of the male gendered version of, the story of the of the creation of the male monster who runs amok. The emotional female creation.
Hmm.
mm,
Well, and
yeah,
that's the thing. I mean, how many times it's like, oh, I mean, look at different stories about childbirth and stuff like that. It's like when a woman is going into labor, and there's complications, like the husband has to choose. It's like, okay, either the baby or the wife. It's like, well, let's get the baby because I can always have another wife. That doesn't matter. And that's kind of like, with Ken, it's
You're
like,
always
this is,
supposed to choose the baby,
yeah, you're always supposed
you
to choose
know,
the baby.
always.
And that's one of the things, like, I'm only in your gaze. Like, this is how it is, like, to be the little woman, to be the one who, oh, just be quiet and look pretty and do your thing. And it's like,
Mhm.
I'm going to do my job and you just sit over here. It's like, welcome to Ladyland, fellas. But I mean, I feel like the Barbies definitely treat the Kens better than, a lot
They
of, I
showed an
mean,
amazing amount of generosity towards them.
yes. And I mean, and
Like,
they have beach. They have beach. We don't necessarily get beach.
Not in Chicago. Like, I mean, you get it during the summer, but then outside of that, there's no beach.
Andrew, you got what I was saying, right?
not really. Sorry.
No, you know how Ken always he's got beach. Like,
Yeah,
his
that's his
job
only
isn't just, it's like,
qualification.
it's beach. It's more
Oh,
than
right.
that. Yeah, remember, he's not a lifeguard, it's beach. And it's like
Mm.
with, a lot of women during the time of Barbie, like, they didn't even get beach. They, had to be the person on the side. So at
Well, I
least,
live by Kathy Osterman Beach, so it feels like a lot of guys near where I live, their job is beach.
Ah, man. Um, I mean,
beach off you.
the movie is
Oh,
irreverent and
lots of vibes with
funny in
that.
its own ways. The production by Sarah Greenwood is just an uncanny achievement in Barbie's plastic universe. And the film, you know, I'm glad they made it the way they did. I don't think you could have made it a different way. If you did, it would have just felt like a 3 hour commercial for Mattel.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's what made this movie work so well, is that it's actually trying to be something more than just an ad for Barbie dolls,
Mm-hmm.
but rather it's a film trying to speak about existentialism and growing up and what Barbie means to every little girl. I mean, the
Yeah,
Barbie
the Lego
creator.
movie did not have expectations like this, even
Yeah.
when it tried to
Hmm.
do many of the same things,
Which
and succeeded.
ironically had Will Ferrell in it too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which I thought that was like really ironic, and this is one of Will Ferrell's less annoying roles. Because I'll be honest, I'm not a Will Ferrell fan. Like, just the amount of times Will Ferrell just goes around and screams nonsensical like stuff at the top of his lungs, which luckily we only get one instance of that in this film. But luckily, this was a more reframed Will Ferrell than what we usually get.
Well, I'm not going to stop. Making fun of CEOs never gets old for me.
Oh yeah.
True.
Oh yeah. Well, that's why it kind of worked. He was kind of this bozo CEO, didn't know what he was doing. But wrapping things up, do you guys have any closing thoughts on Barbie?
Go see it. It's
Yeah, go
fantastic.
see it and don't, like, have preconceived notions on what it is. Like, actually go see it and then complain about it rather than complain about it before you even see it, or that it's not manly enough for you to see.
Or that it's
Ugh.
too harsh on men.
Yeah, because, oh no.
Now, is that what one of the
If you
criticisms
want
of
to
the movie
laugh and
is?
think,
Yeah, is that
without being
criticism of
dumbed
this
down.
movie that it's too harsh on men?
I've seen it, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
see,
Or that they
I
don't seem to know what feminism means.
No.
see. At a certain point, I just stopped going to those parts of the internet where all the idiots are, and
Unfortunately, some very prominent female critics that I know were saying that too.
yeah, well,
That's disappointing.
Mm.
it is, but they want to get the clicks too. Sometimes it's good to be in the contrarian Olympics. But Andrea Thompson, we can find you at Real of One's Own, and Katie Glidewell, we can find you with a blonde in front. Guys, thank you for taking the time to talk to me about Barbie and how plastic and amazing it was.
They
Uh,
were wrapped in plastic and it was fantastic.
It
yeah,
was.
made of plastic. It's fantastic.
Barbie
Yeah, that's
girl
right.
in an Oppenheimer world, and I loved every bit of it.
Oh,
Hell
I know.
yes.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna make a joke at the beginning how Barbie's about a brilliant theoretical physicist, but that wouldn't have made any sense.
There's a physicist Barbie.
Yeah, there's
Mhm.
a Nobel Prize winner Barbie too.
There is.
Yeah, that's one of the things I liked about this movie is how all the different Barbies represented a different person.
Mhm.
It wasn't just one Barbie.
You know what? I mentioned this in my review. Gentlemen Prefer Blondes writer Anita Loos. She mentioned that when she mentioned that Einstein developing his great theory and then asking his fellow scientists not to use it to destroy humanity. She said it was kind of the same joke in Little Women where they asked children not to shove beans up their noses and then they all ran to do it immediately.
Yeah, yeah. Don't tell someone not to do something. It's like they say in Inception. Don't think of elephants. What are you gonna do? You
Think
know.
of elephants.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Guys, thank you for coming on and doing this. If you want to check out my stuff, you can check it out at YPA Reviews. The YPA stands for You'll Probably Agree. So we'll see you, Barbie girls and Kens, later.